Welcome to the original side-by-side. We all get excited when we see a restored car. From young to old, we can all appreciate the value there. Come with us as we explore some original side-by-sides and learn the story behind them.
I'm Jody, and this is my original side-by-side.
I'm here with Jody in Sigurd, Utah. If you haven't been to Sigurd, you should come check it out. Sigurd is a step back in time, and as I'm visiting with Jody, we're going to step back in time and talk about her Jeep. Jody, what year is this Jeep?
It's a 1966 Kaiser, Willie.
Can you tell us a story about it a little bit?
My dad bought it from Dr. Stewart. He originally bought it from Whiting Motor.
About when was it that it got restored?
94, 95, in that range.
So it's looked like this since 94, 95?
No, it was white. The scoop on it has been added. Fender flares was added. He changed the back end on it. He hand cut all of aluminum and polished it and put the running boards on it.
Yeah, that's really nice. This is a good looking Jeep.
He loved blue.
Yeah.
Blue was, yeah.
So how did you end up with this Jeep? If it was your dad's and you kind of grew up with it and you had a brother and a sister, you didn't have to fight them for the Jeep, did you?
Well, I'd like to, but no. No, he passed away in 2012. He had numerous outfits, and this one was wheeled.
So all in all, how many vehicles did your dad have when he passed away that he handed down?
My brother got two, 64 Chevy pickup in mint condition, and the same year Jeep as this one. My sister got the Blazer, I think it was 73 for Blazer, and a newer Jeep. And there's still one more Jeep up there, and the Monte Carlo.
So your dad was kind of a car collector.
Well, he was an auto body man.
So he did all the work?
He did all this.
Everything?
Everything.
So did he do auto body for a living?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
How many years did he do that, actually? Work as auto body?
50 years.
50 years.
I couldn't even tell you how many cars. I know he painted his first car and he hand brushed it with a paintbrush.
So what year did he start in the auto body business?
He started working for McKinley Chevrolet in 1949.
Wow, so that's a long history.
Okay.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So how often do you drive the Jeep and where do you store it?
Okay, well, I just drive it to car shows or I haul it now. Everybody says, well, are you gonna go get it dirty? I said, heck yes, I'm gonna get it dirty. He got it dirty.
Good. I'm glad when people are using them. That's what makes it fun. Jody, when I first pulled up, I gotta admit, I saw this cooler. Can you tell us a little bit about this cooler?
When my parents bought their house in Richville, it was in the garage, in the closet. My mom just, she was gonna get rid of it. I said, no, you're not, and so I just thought it was fitting. It just kind of is the era of the Jeep. I think it's actually older than the Jeep, but
yeah, I think it does. I think it's very
fitting. It
fitting.
sets it off.
It really does.
Yeah.
It just makes it look so classy.
Yeah.
Jody, what would it take to get a ride in this Jeep?
Let's hop on in.
All right, let's do it.
All right.
Jody, thank you so much for the ride. That was fantastic. We really enjoyed being here in Sigurd and seeing this wonderful metropolis, especially this Jeep. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
To some, the Jeep may only be a beautiful machine, but for Jody and her family, these vehicles hold memories of their father. In the details, the polish and the shine are the efforts of a lifetime. I guess you could say it's their turn to maintain that polish and pass it on to the next generation.
Envision a college experience where you are not just another student, but a priority. A place where you are inspired to be more, where your learning experience is elevated with opportunities and a clear path to success. Now imagine getting this education without breaking the bank. You can have a quality education that is affordable. This is Snow College. Your journey begins now at snow.edu.
I'm Harold, and this is my original side-by-side.
Tell us about this Corvette.
Okay, this is a 50th anniversary special production Corvette. It was produced to celebrate and begin the year-long celebration of 50th anniversary of Corvette production. The first Corvette was produced in 1953, and only 300 cars were produced. Each Corvette generation, instead of going by the year number, they go by the generation of the vet. This Corvette is generation number 5. And General Motors decided that they would celebrate the 50th anniversary of Corvette production by having a year-long celebration. The celebration started at the Indy 500 on May 26, 2002. So this is a 2003 or 5th generation, but because of the year-long celebration of Corvette production, it started on the Indy 500. Okay, there were only 3 Indy pace cars made. This is a replica of the pace car, right down to the last detail, but there were only 3 authorized pace cars. One of them went to General Motors, the other one went to the Indy 500 people, and the third one is in a museum in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Now this is an authorized reproduction of that car.
Wow.
As a dealer incentive. And I have the information here that shows that that's been produced as a dealer incentive.
Authorized reproduction. That's fantastic.
So even though the car was bought in Las Vegas, it went to our Chevrolet dealer here in Ephraim, and they put the package together, making this a replica of the Indy pace car.
That's fantastic. How long have you been the owner of this car?
Since the end of the first model year. It went through the model year production, and on May, at the end of that first year, I bought this car.
So what's your favorite thing about this Corvette?
Okay, let me show you one of the special features. Dave Hill and the 4 men who represented the Bowling Green factory at the Corvette show in Colorado were signing hats. They sold souvenir hats, and you could have the brim of your hat signed. So I had my hat signed, and then I went back to the room. And Nancy and the other women that were with us stayed around just to kind of watch what was going on. And when it got to the point where it looked like they were going to suspend the signing program, my wife went to Dave Hill and said, "Dave, if my husband brought the valve covers, they're called fuel rail covers, would you sign them?" And he said, "Yeah, I think we could do that." And he says, "I'd like to see the car." So we walked out to the parking lot, and he went over and looked at it, and he says, "We would love to sign those for you." So this is the man who built those cars in competition to Carroll Shelby. This was a former race driver that bought a Corvette dealership and was the #1 Corvette dealer in the nation in that year.
Wow, in 08.
Fred Gallagher was the engineer that had retired with Dave Hill at the same time, and he designed and worked with the crew that built that engine.
That's fantastic.
The LS engine.
Fantastic.
So this, to me, makes this a real collector's car. Not only is it 50th anniversary pace, but how many cars have been signed by Dave Hill?
You're absolutely right. That was a fantastic. You owe your wife really big for that, don't you?
Yes, yes.
Thorold has an obvious passion for cars. For he and his family, this was a way they learned to work together. Each of his children have learned how to buy and sell collectible cars, and like him, they have been able to generate an income, gain confidence, self-reliance, and have fun in the process.
They are everywhere. In your home, in your lawn. Only one can save you from the creepy crawly things that lurk in the shadow. Eco-Man. He takes the battle to places where no one wants to go to save your family from the insects and rodents that ruin your home. He possesses the power to kill those unwanted pests safely without harm or worry to your family and pets. Thanks, Eco-Man.
I'm Murray, and this is my original side-by-side 2.
Murray, can you tell us a little bit about this Bronco we've got behind us?
Well, that Bronco's got a long story behind it. It sat just a block away from here for a lot of years. It wasn't being used, and there was a lot of people that tried to buy it. But Ruby Jensen owned it, and her husband, and he finally died and left Ruby there, and 5 years later I finally talked her out of it.
Well, good job. What year is this Bronco?
It's a 1971.
And do you think Ruby was the original owner?
They was the only owner. I had a one-man title.
That was it. So they bought this new in 71. Now, what was it used for? Was she using it on a daily basis?
They take their sheep back and forth, and they'd all 3 or 4 in it. It had the 4-wheel drive, and that was their car there.
How long do you think you had your eye on it before you were able to pick it up?
About 8 years.
Yeah. How many times had you approached Ruby about buying it, do you think?
Quite a few. She when people had come, she got the point of it. She says, I know what it is you're after, and I am not ready to sell that, and if I was, I've already got people that I've promised it to. So when Ruby died, Kathleen come and told me that I was a lucky winner on it, and that they'd be bringing it. And the following 2 or 3 days, here they come towing it in. It hadn't been started for probably, well, it hadn't been on the highway for quite a few years.
Wow. Was it in pretty rough shape when you got it?
Yes, it was. The fenders had sit over in the corrals, and the sheep had bedded around it, and the sheep manure had rusted all 4 fenders.
Oh wow, so it was quite a project.
It was. I had it in here for about 3 years to get it to where it is now. Right now, if you look at it, I think it's got 37,000 miles on it.
So you said it took 3 years for the restoration. At any time during those 3 years, or after you got it and you saw the shape it was in, did you question yourself? Did you have any regrets? Did you think, what have I gotten myself into? What were your thoughts as you were going through that?
Well, when I got into it, it was, the price of parts about scared me to death. That's the first Bronco I'd ever worked on. So with that being said, yes, my wife was alive at that time, and she didn't know whether I should be doing that or not.
Yeah, I'll bet.
So,
you had some discussion about that, huh?
Yes, we did. And bless her heart, she stood behind me on this, so pretty much because I spent a lot of money on it.
Good. Well, it looks gorgeous, and that's really exciting. Now, what is your favorite thing about this Bronco?
The favorite thing, I think, is I've been kidded about the color of that for so long that it's kind of got to be a joke to me. They can't imagine me at my age painting it hugger orange. Well, the story behind that hugger orange is the color of the year. If they'll get a Ford book and look, why, it was orange.
It was an original color.
Yeah.
You've just put it back to its original state.
I didn't put it back to the color it was. It was red, but the original color, show color for that year was hugger orange.
Oh wow. I love it. It's gorgeous. During the rebuilding of his last car, a beautiful Willys Jeep, Murray was declared legally blind. For over 50 years, Murray and his wife traveled together and they worked together. I guess you could say, in a way, that makes them an original side-by-side.
Envision a college experience where you are not just another student, but a priority. A place where you are inspired to be more, where your learning experience is elevated with opportunities and a clear path to success. Now imagine getting this education without breaking the bank. You can have a quality education that is affordable. This is Snow College. Your journey begins now at snow.edu.
They are everywhere. In your home, in your lawn. Only one can save you from the creepy crawly things that lurk in the shadow. Eco Man. He takes the battle to places where no one wants to go to save your family from the insects and rodents that ruin your home. He possesses the power to kill those unwanted pests safely without harm or worry to your family and pets. Thanks, Eco Man.
Hi, I'm Bill, and this is my original side-by-side.
We're here with Bill Thompson to talk about this awesome car that he's put together. Give us a little history about this car, Bill.
Well, it goes back to 1961 when I was a paper boy in Orem. I was riding my bike with my papers up 8th North on Canyon Road in Orem, and I spotted this car for sale. And I'd always been just enthralled with old cars and always wanted one, but I was only 15, so I couldn't wait to get home and tell Dad particularly about this car I'd found, because he'd had Model A's and told me about it.
That's the age that most people get excited about cars, 15.
That's right. I've been putting together model cars for years. So I got home and told Dad about it, and he says, well, we'll talk to Mom. And it took a week or so to convince her, but so finally we went to get it, and it was gone. It had been for sale for $100.
Oh no.
Well, it turned out a good friend of mine down the street had bought it, and they'd been told, he and his brother, that if they didn't sell it by a certain date that they could have it for $85. So I helped them get it running, and after a couple of weeks they lost interest and sold it to me for $85. So that's when things really started. We got it up to my house and started doing a little body work and pulled the engine out of it to get another engine. It was barely running, but it turned out it had a cracked block, and so we had to find another engine for it. And
so even at the age of 15, you were able to get the car running, even with a cracked block. And was that your first experience in working on cars?
Cars, yes. I had a 49 Cushman motor scooter that I'd worked on. So it was another year before I got this, and then I really got started in mechanic. Yeah.
Great. And when did you get it to this stage?
Well, 4 years ago, I decided after sitting here in Manti in a shed for so many years, it was only 10 by 16, but it was enough space that I could hoist the body up, and eventually I stripped the frame clear down to nothing and took the frame up to Linden where it was sandblasted and powder coated, and had the wheels done at that time also. And then I cleaned up the axles and all the other parts and painted them and put everything back together out there.
So at any point during this, did you ever have any doubt? Did you ever think this isn't worth it as you're putting all that labor into something like that? Did you ever have any doubts?
Well, I didn't really have any doubt. There were times where I wondered if I could do it and I was going to need more help. And I did on the body work. I didn't do the body work. But I always knew I was going to do it. It ended up taking longer than I anticipated and cost a whole lot more than I thought it was going to cost.
Yeah.
But I took the body apart in pieces. I put the axles and springs and all of the brake rods and things like that back on the chassis. And then I had bought another motor by then that I found, and I put a sheet of plywood on the frame, and I had a little device that I built on the frame just with a little 1.5 gallon gas tank on it. And then I had a little piece of metal that I could attach the coil and the amp gauge and a switch to turn it on and off. So I had it all wired up, and I could drive it around the block here with just the frame to make sure everything was working.
So you knew at that point the motor and the transmission were working okay.
And then I found out the transmission was knocking real bad in high gear. Ended up pulling it back out and having it rebuilt. So then I decided, well, okay, I got this about ready to go. It's time to take the body up. So I took the fenders up first and splash aprons here, and took all those parts up there and started working on those. And I took the doors off. So these are still all the original parts that came with this car in 1929.
So through all of this, at what point did you decide this is finally happening? This is coming together?
When I saw the first fender polished out, I thought, man, that is so beautiful. I can't wait to start getting more parts done. This is the color the car was born with. It's called Andalusite Blue, but there were only 4 color choices on this car in 1929. So when I saw that blue for the first time, I knew I'd made the right choice of going back to the original color. I really, really liked that dark blue.
So hey Bill, any chance we can hear this thing run? Maybe go for a ride?
Absolutely.
Fantastic, Bill. Thank you so much for the ride.
You bet. My pleasure.
This is a pretty impressive car Bill Thompson's put together here. The ride was fantastic. Sometimes when we see a finished car such as Bill's, we may not realize the time, effort, and dedication it takes to restore a thing of beauty. This car represents over 50 years of effort and commitment on the part of Bill and his family to make what is now a family treasure. And it was the car he drove with his wife on their very first date. I hope you enjoyed today's episode as much as I did. We're off to find our next great story. See you next time on The Original Side by Side. Or someone you know has a collectible car with a great story behind it and you would love to share your story, please go to the website below and send us your information.